Welcome. Today we're going to have a little bit of a play with the masking and our new blending brushes that Stampin' Up have brought out in our 2021 June to January, January to June, sorry, mini catalogue. Hi Linny, how are you? Thanks for joining. Okay, I'm going to flip this over and show you what we're going to be working on today. Hold on one moment. Okay, so I hope you can all see that. So what we're going to be using today is the Moving Along stamp set. This is in our annual catalogue. It's on page, I think it was 99. Let me just have a look. Sorry. As I said, I'm just running a little bit late. Just been mucking around with another program for doing these lives and couldn't get it running. So back to my normal lives with using my phone. So this is the catalogue. It's on page 99. It's Moving Along, and that retails here in Australia for $30. And you get all these wonderful stamps. Now, I've made a few cards using this over the last few weeks, so you will have seen this on my Facebook page. But this is the card we're going to be making today. It's quite a cute little welcome baby card. So what I thought I'd show you is how I use the blending brushes to create my background and a little bit of masking as well. So we're going to make today maybe not so much a boy card, but one that can be used for either a boy or a girl. So let me get rid of the catalogue and I'll show you all our measurements. So these are the measurements today. It's all fairly basic. So what you'll be requiring for this card is some basic white. Now basic white is the new cardstock that we've got to replace our Whisper White. I am still using Whisper White, but I just sort of put the basic white in there. So if you're needing to order some cardstock, that's what you'll be looking at. Apparently there's not much difference between the two. I don't have any here at the moment to compare it, but from what I've seen so far, there's only very, very slight difference in colour. So our basic white card base is 29.8 centimetres by 10.5 centimetres, and we're going to score that at 14.9. Now I've already done that. Now I've given you there also the imperial measurements if you're using imperial, and the American letter size paper. So that's 4.25 by 11. So that is the American letter size paper, and with that is scored at 5.5 inches. Your card front is going to be 10 centimetres by 14.4 centimetres. That's just to bring it in a little bit better. There's only 2 layers in this card, so it's just the layer at the front and our card base. Or if you're doing that in the imperial letter size, it's 4 by 5.25 inches. Okay, I will post this up on my blog, so you will have those measurements there to refer back to later on. So this is our stamp set. And all we're going to be using is the helicopter. So you've got the outline image there, which allows you to colour it in or fill it in with this stamp here. We're going to be using our banner, and we will be using Welcome Baby. So let's get started. So for this card, as I said, we need our card base. So I've already cut this and I've already scored it. So we're just going to fold that score line down. And using our bone folder, we're just going to burnish that line so we've got a nice sharp edge there, and pop that to one side. And then we have our card front. So let me just move my card out of the road. Now we will be using some other products with this. We will be using the die cut for a little leaf, and that comes from the curvy dies, which is in our our mini catalogue. I just realized I said something wrong earlier. It's the annual catalogue, which is the 2020 to 2021, no January to June. But it does, we will be replacing that in a few months' time with a new annual catalogue. But the curvy dies does come from our mini catalogue in our January to June 2021 mini. So we'll be using those little dies, that die to cut out some little leaves, and we'll be using this punch here to punch out some flowers. And I'm going to show you the special technique that I used with the flowers. Okay, just to soften them up a little bit. So let me just pop that out of the road again. So we need to mask off our Whisper White cardstock. Now what I'm using, a friend of mine, Kayla, told me about this. This is Post-it notes. You get this from Kmart, and the whole Post-it note is actually adhesive. So it's not just a little strip at the top, which I thought was a fantastic idea. And what we're going to do is we need 2 of these. Now we're going to line this up on our grid paper. And I'm just going to mask it off using our grid paper as our guide. Around about there, going across to there. Okay, so we can stick all that down. Now we need another sheet. And we're going to stick that down around about, whoops, using those. Try again using those grid lines as our guide, keeping everything nice and straight. Oh, it's probably out a little bit. Let's just try that again. Oh, that's better. Okay, now we need to mask one more thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pad here again, and I need Memento. Now what I've done here, I don't know whether you can see this or not, I've actually layered put both the outline stamp of the helicopter and the banner onto one block. So I'm only just going to stamp this off once, but I'm going to stamp it onto my Post-it note. And you'll see why in a minute. And I'm just realizing I don't have my scissors with me, so you are going to have to hold on 1 second while I go and grab those. But we're just going to stamp that off there. I'm going to need that, so I'm just going to leave that there. So just bear with me 1 second, and I will just grab a little pair of scissors. Now this part can be, a little bit fiddly, but we're going to actually cut that out. Unfortunately, there's no dies with this. We are playing with some sticky paper. Now all I'm really worrying about, and I'm going to separate that. I'm not worrying about the legs on the helicopter. That piece, and I'm not going to worry about the propeller. So I'm just cutting, just missed my finger. So I'm just cutting the outline of this out, and now I am trying to cut it just on the inside of the outline there. I'm going to worry about those back ones. So there's our little helicopter body, and then we need our banner. So again, just going on the inside of that. I don't need those little flag bits at the end there, or those little pieces that attach the flag to the back of the helicopter. I'm making a little bit of a mess here. I'll walk away with this stuck all over my hands in a moment. I can see it. let's remove all of that rubbish before I stick it all to myself. Pop that over there. So there's that. Now we need to do a little bit more stamping before we can start doing our background. So I'm just going to, again, ink up the helicopter here. Now I hope you can all see it. I'm in shot. I have got a bit of a habit of going outside of the shot. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop our helicopter on there. Hold that down for a few seconds just to let that ink settle onto the white cardstock. Lift that up, and there's our helicopter there. Now with these little pieces we've just cut out, what we're going to do is we're going to stick those over the top on the inside there. And the same with our banner. Okay. Whoops, my ink might have been still a little bit damp. I've smudged it a little bit. That's okay. So these are our blending brushes. Now they do come in a pack of 3. They're a very soft, fine bristle brush. Now what these were originally made for is actually makeup brushes. So that's why they're so soft and velvety, because you wouldn't want to put something like sandpaper to our faces. So these are made to be very, very soft. Now, when I tend to clean these, I clean these after every use. Some people don't. Some people have them by one for each colour family. So one for blues, one for yellows, one for reds, and so on. But what I do is I clean these after every use. I find that they clean up fairly quickly. So when I'm finished using them, I will take these out to my kitchen and I'll get a piece of paper towel, or you could use a soft cloth like a microfiber cloth, dampen it, and then I rub it until all the colour comes out. You can see this one has stained a little bit, but basically all the colour has been removed. I don't saturate these because they are a very fine bristle. If I do have a lot of water, a lot of ink on them, especially if I've used a darker colour, then yes, I will run it through the tap very, very quickly, but I'm not actually saturating it. And then I just keep brushing it down with a damp piece of paper towel or a damp soft cloth until all the colours, all the colour of the ink has come out of them. And that way I'm just ready to go the next time. Just pop it into a little cup, let it dry, and it's ready to go. So we only need one today because we're only doing one colour. So I'm going to grab this one. Let's pop the cover on this black ink before I sort of try to put black ink on it. So what we're going to do is colour our background. So we've masked all that off, just making sure our mask is nice and pushed down there. And the colour we're going to use I'm going to use for my background is Balmy Blue. So when we're using our blending brushes, what we're going to do, now I like to hold the head of my brush because I find that these are very, very flexible. Okay, there's a lot of bend there in that brush. So when I use them, I usually have 2 fingers on the brush head, and that gives me control as well of what I'm doing. So I'm going to ink that up, and I just work in a circular motion over the top of my ink pad. Now don't put this directly down onto your work because you will leave a blob of dark colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working from off my cardstock and then work down onto it. And I'm just going to work all the way around those edges. And just picking up more colour, coming back off my paper and then working down onto it. And I'm just brushing that around in a circular motion. So again, coming back off my paper and then working up. Until I get the colour I want. So what I'm looking for here is really more depth of colour on my edges than I have actually around the helicopter. So I'm just going to keep working it until I've got the colour I want at my edges and sort of a little bit lighter in around that helicopter area. So I'm actually pretty happy with that. I might just put a little bit more here just to match up. I've got a lot of colour here and not as much there, so I just want to match that up a little bit. And then down here as well. Okay. Oh, my son Patrick's watching. He mustn't be working at the moment. So once we've done that, we can now remove our masking. So I'm going to remove that top layer, pop that to one side, and our bottom one, making sure my fingers are nice and clean, and I'm going to peel off the masking we've done on the helicopter and that banner. So now we've got a nice white area to stamp the rest of our colours. So next we're going to stamp our helicopter. So I've got my helicopter base here, and this is the one that fills in the colour. Now on my original card I did use, I think it was Blushing Bride, and this time we're going to use Daffodil Delight because I want a little bit more colour in this and maybe a little bit more sort of not really masculine, but one that can be used for a boy or for a girl. Okay, stamp that up, and let's see if I can match this up without getting my head in the road. Hold that down for a couple of seconds. Beautiful. Well done, Michelle. Okay, so there's our helicopter. I also have our helicopter blades, and I've got Smoky Slate for that one. So again, I'm just going to line those up and stamp. And I'm not going to worry about those little ones. And the only other thing we need now to stamp off is our welcome baby. So as I said, this is a really simple card to make, but I think it looks great. So I'm just going to turn this at a bit of an angle. So I've got this going the way of going. Let's move that ink out of the road so I don't get my hands in it. Line up our welcome baby and stamp straight down and straight up. Beautiful. So that's all our stamping, and that was so simple and easy and quick to do. And that's because Stampin' Up have given us the stamps to actually fill in all those outlines. Now with this particular stamp set, you could do it as trains, you can do it as cars, but I particularly like the helicopter carrying that sign. Now at the moment, our helicopter, well, that sign banner looks like it's just floating in midair. So what I'm going to do is I'm using our Stampin' Write marker in black, and I'm just going to draw a line going from there across to the helicopter. Okay, so now he's attached to the helicopter. So there's our card front. So that now theoretically is all finished, but we're going to add, as I've done with this card here, some nice little flowers and some leaves here. So we will move all the ink pads out of the road so we don't need those any longer, and we can attach that to the front of our card using dimensionals. Now I just like to use quite a few dimensionals just to be able to, so this card is well supported. Whoops, we need one down there, a couple in the middle, Can't have too many dimensionals. Peel off all these backs. Now I hope you all are planning to have a nice cool day tomorrow. Apparently we're supposed to be getting a fair amount of heat. Even today here in the Highlands it's supposed to be getting to 31, so okay, so let's make sure we put our card on the right way up. Got an opening that way. Now I like to always line up my longest edges, just so then I can get this as square as possible. Beautiful. Or probably could have come across this side, but I might trim that down a bit later on. I'm sort of a little bit too far that way. That's okay. I can fix that. Okay then. So we need some flowers on there. So what I've got here is some soft sea foam. And some Daffodil Delight. And we're going to punch just a couple of flowers. We're only going to need, well, there's 3 flowers on there, but we only probably need 2 of those. So I'll pop that to one side, and I'm going to bring over my mini cut and emboss. It's a fantastic little tool. It's quite cute and small. And when you purchase it, it's $108 for one of these, and you get all the plates that you need. So we need our base plate, which is plate number 1. And we don't need plates. It's all written on here what each plate does. So we don't need plate 3 or 4, but we do need plates 2. So I'm going to pop that one on the bottom. Now, I only need, I'm just going to be a bit slack here. I'm just tearing my cardstock because we only need a little piece of that. And we need to cut out 3 of these little leaves. So I'm going to pop one on there. Now, if you have problems with getting these plates through, and I'm just going to turn this around because I like to have the handle on the other side. If you have problems with getting these plates through your little mini cut and emboss, if you stagger them, so if you can have a look here, I haven't lined them all up, I've got them staggered a little bit, and that will just allow you to get that through and for the machine to pick this up. Hold it quite firmly because it is only a light machine, so it does move a little bit on the table, especially if you've got paper sitting on your table like I do. So there's one. And we just need to cut another 2. Another 2, sorry. This is such a handy little machine because it just sits nice and tidy on your table when those ends are all folded up. One more to go. Really good for traveling. If you just want to take it with you just to do those little jobs, if you're on holidays or something and you're taking a few crafting things to do to fill in your time. Just a nice little machine just to do those small little jobs. So just fold that out of the road. Don't need that anymore. And there's our last piece there. And we'll pop, whoops, I've got one underneath my fingers. Pop that out of the road. Okay, so now we've got 3 little branches and 2 little flowers. So all you need here now I can find mine, is a mat. Now what I used to use a lot was a piercing mat, but I'm using this mat here. It's only a fairly thin one, and it comes with the Stamparatus. I've always got a couple of these lying around, and we're going to use a stylus. So I've got my take a pick tool here, and I just need my stylus end, and I'm going to use the large stylus end. So the ends of these just come out and twist back in. And what we're going to do is we're going to work these little flowers. So we're going to break down the fibres in these flowers. Because what happens when you rub them with your stylus, now you could even screw it up into a tight little ball, but when you rub them, the fibres will actually separate, and we can tear these in half. And this will give us our 3 flowers. But it'll also, the inside, the half, when you tear them apart and tear them in half, the section inside is really soft and velvety. Now you do have to work these for a while. You will find eventually this will start breaking down, and then you can just very gently just pull them apart. Just work gently, you don't need to be too quick or okay. So that's going to give us 2 little flowers, and I don't know whether you can see that, but it's got like a soft furriness in there. Now what I like to do now is, once I've done that, okay, because the furry side is going to be my right side, I'm just going to cup those a little bit by just giving them a little bit more of a rub, just to curve. But just be very gentle, because our paper is only like half the thickness now, so we don't want to put your stylus through. And that's why I use the big head of the stylus. So now we're just going to do the same thing with our second flower. You could also use your bone folder for doing this. Just use that pointed end. So what you do is you have your bone folder, and you just move that around on that pointed end. But I do like using my stylus for this because I've got a little bit more control. So once you start seeing those separating, no, that doesn't want to separate just yet. Just keep working it until it does. Again, just very gently ease these apart. Now, what's everyone planned for the weekend? Staying home, crafting. I have got lots of sewing to do. School holidays are about to finish, and I have got a lot of people wanting school uniforms taken up. So I know what I'm going to be doing for the next few days. I was planning to get some crafting done, but always have those last minute jobs parents need to have done. But we've all been in that position, haven't we? I'm sure I have. I know last minute jobs for me in January was always running around trying to find a school jumper, because it was always cold when the boys went back to school. Okay, so let's finish putting this card together. So we're going to need some multi-purpose glue. Let's make sure I've got, yep, it's working. And we're going to put a little bit of glue on the back of these. Now you only need to put just the tiniest little bit. So I'm only really just dotting that on. And I want one leaf coming that way. Just a little bit too much. So it just need the tiny bit. We don't want it oozing out everywhere. Have another one that way. And we're going to have another one. So I'm going to cut this one. Just going to make it a little bit shorter. Doesn't really matter because these end pieces aren't going to be seen. Because we're going to cover them up with flowers. So again, just put a little bit of glue. I'm hardly even squeezing this bottle. I'm just really tapping glue from the top. And we're going to pop those down like that. So it looks a bit messy at the moment, but now we're going to put some flowers on here. So we're going to take our flowers. We've got our lovely velvety side there. Put a little bit of glue on the back. And we're just going to sit these over the top. So this is one of those cards that if you had everything with you, you can very quickly make it up if you need that quick card for somebody. Okay, so we're going to push all those down and just hold them down for a few seconds. Just let that glue take. So while they're drying, now you could, if you wanted to, just go around and just pinch each of those petals in, just to give them a bit more of a bit more shape to them. You could do this before you actually glue it on, probably would be easier. Just to give that little bit more definition like that. And then we're going to put some centers. So we need, now I've used pearls for this, so let me just grab my pearls out. Hope I've got the right box. Yes. Now unfortunately I don't have the newest ones out. I'm still using some of the older pearls, but they're the same thing. So we're going to again use our take a pick tool. Let's change that over. This is a fantastic thing, really, really worth buying. And we're just going to grab pearl, just using one of the not the smallest ones, but one of the smaller pearls, and just pop a little pearl, because we still want a little bit of delicacy to it. And it doesn't matter if this is a boy or a girl with the flowers and the pearls. Baby is a baby. There we go. So, how simple and easy was that? And you've got a beautiful cards there for either a boy or for a girl. So I hope you've really enjoyed that today. Just let me flip my camera around again, won't be a moment. Hi Teresa, how are you? Let you look at my face rather than all my stamps and everything. Okay, so let me just pick that up a little bit so you're not seeing, you can see my whole face, not just the bottom of my face. Okay, so Those were using the products, the Moving Along stamp set from the annual catalogue, and using those new blending brushes from the mini catalogue. Now, I really recommend you getting those blending brushes. I think anyone that loves to colour in, loves colouring in backgrounds, will find a lot of uses for them. They are fantastic. I've been using them for a little while, not necessarily the Stampin' Ups ones because they're just very new, but I've used them in quite a few different projects, and I find them so easy and so much fun to use, and quick as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today. If you want to know anything more about any of the products that I've used today, please contact me. You can find them all on my online store, which is at michellejutrissa.stampinup.net. Had to think about that one for a minute. Yeah, if you make the card, show me a picture. I'd love to see what you've come up with. Otherwise, have a lovely day, and I will see you next Friday.